Hey friends, welcome to the Creative Business Mindset. This is your backstage pass to the realities of turning your passion into profit. My name is Joke. I'll be your host. I'm a busy mom of 3, navigating the twists and turns of life and business. You'll get the good, the bad, and the glorious mess of starting afraid, the determination to keep going no matter what. Everyone knows you for that one thing. You know what I'm talking about. It's the thing that comes so naturally to you that you're happy to do it for free. That was me until I made 6 figures in my first year as a home stager. I've made so many mistakes so you don't have to. If this Nigerian girl can do it, you, my friend, can do it too. Let's go. Today, I am thrilled to introduce my lovely co-host, the amazing Rebecca Hay. Rebecca is an interior design powerhouse based in Toronto, Canada, and she is the brain behind Rebecca Hay Designs Incorporated, the host of one of my favorite podcasts, the top-rated Resilient by Design. If you are in the design world or creative, or you're even wanting to get into it, go subscribe to Resilient by Design wherever you get your podcast. Rebecca has been celebrated by major publications like Architectural Digest, Better Homes and Gardens, and Elle Decor, to name a few. And she's proof that success is attainable to all of us with the right tools and the right mindset. Rebecca has created something amazing for interior designers. I'm a big fan because I have literally gone through this course, The Power of Process. It is something that empowers design firm owners to level up their business, make more money without burning out. And she's not a gatekeeper. I need to shut up right now because I just keep talking about Rebecca. I love her so much. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Oh, thank you. That was a beautiful introduction. Keep going. Don't stop. It's wonderful. I'm so used to being the host. It's so lovely to be hosted.
Yes, you're so welcome. And this is like full circle moment because you have previously had me on your show. I think it's been 2003? It's been a while. Yeah. Anyway, so I have been on your show as a guest and that was fun. Let me allow you speak for a moment.
That's okay. Well, first of all, I just want to add, if you guys want to go hear all of Joke's wisdom on Resilient by Design, go to episode 199. I just want to make sure that people know where to go find you because it was such a good episode. When did we first meet? It was in Vegas, right?
Yeah, it was in Las Vegas.
But then the second time was in Toronto.
Yes.
So I've actually, fortunately for me, been able to meet you in person twice, which is so unheard of in this digital age. But I was speaking at RESACon, which is like a convention.
Convention, yeah. Real Estate Staging Association convention.
Yeah, in Vegas, in the heat of the summer. My gosh, it's hot there in the summer. And I spoke on stage and I was talking to stagers about, what does it look like to add on interior design services? How do you get into interior design? And you came up to me and you were so lovely. You introduced yourself and you said that you also are doing interior design in addition to staging and in addition to all that you do because you are such a busy woman. And it was so lovely. And you said, I'm signing up for your course. And then fast forward to the following January, I was having a meetup at the Interior Design Show here in Toronto, it was for my birthday. And who shows up at the meetup? But Joke is there. You had flown the red eye from Seattle. I was so flattered. I was totally blown away. I mean, you got to stay and see the show, but you were tired, but you did it. And it was so wonderful. So I'm so happy that we have this connection. I love everything that you do.
Oh, thank you so much, Rebecca. You are my friend, my mentor, and being in this industry for, let's talk about that, 10 years. Congratulations. That is a big deal. And I know too well that this journey, it hasn't been an easy road. Let's face it, there are lots of ups and downs being an entrepreneur. I just want you to tell us how it all started.
So this is very true. And as anybody who runs a business knows, it may look really shiny and pretty on the outside, but inside it can be a lot of challenges as you navigate running a business. So for me, long story short, I was working as a design assistant in Toronto. I was ready to go out on my own. And sometimes we were waiting for the universe to give us a sign like now is the time. That was it. I got pregnant. I'm like, okay, this is my ticket out. I'm going to go out on my own. And I started out working actually in television. I was working behind the scenes in HGTV. I worked with clients who were referred to me from the hosts of those TV shows, which at the time was really wonderful. I was working around the clock, not making a lot of money, but starting to take on private clients. And then I found myself in this cycle of budget client loop. I used to refer to it as bad clients. They weren't bad people. They just were not the right fit for me. And anyone who's just started out in their business can relate to this. I didn't have high end connections. I didn't have people with $10 million homes coming and knocking at my door. I literally had someone who was on a super tight budget renovating their kitchen or setting up an income property in their basement or doing a powder room, love working with me and refer me to their friends who also had super tight budgets. And so for a few years, I was very frustrated because I didn't have clients who had the money that I wanted to spend. Let's face it, right? Like as a designer, you have all these beautiful ideas. You see these beautiful things and you want to use them. I found that I had a challenge communicating that to my clients and they just didn't want to pay. And so that took a while to break free from that budget client loop. And then once I finally landed a project that I thought was like my ticket to all the luxury design clients, I actually had everything go wrong. I call it my lemon job. You've heard me talk about this. Everybody has one of these, or at least one of these, where like think about the lemon car, where like the electrical is going wrong, the tires always go flat. Somehow it's a magnet for cars crashing into it while it's parked on the street, like you name it. That was this job. And literally everything that could go wrong went wrong. The floor lamp arrives, the furniture's not there yet, and the client starts to question, well, this looks like it's not very sturdy, and I think my grandkids might knock it over. We need to return it. Never mind that there was a giant armchair going to be sitting in front of the lamp. Or this ceiling medallion that was existing in the house was round, but I had selected a rectangular light fixture with a rectangular plate. Like little things like that. A lot of them were my mistakes, but it was the sort of awakening I needed. That client sat me down at the end of the project and I thought it was to talk about the next phase. We're going to do the bedrooms next. We're going to do the second floor because they had talked about that and said to me, Rebecca, we've loved working with you. We think you are lovely. We think the designs are beautiful, but we're not going to have you design the second floor. Oh. And truthfully, yeah, wow, right? It's like, oh, like I feel like I was stabbed in the gut. And then they said to me, we didn't enjoy the process of working with you and your team. It was chaotic. We never knew what to expect. And you're way over budget. Initially, you said it was going to be this much, and now we're this much over. And quite frankly, there were a lot of mistakes made that we expected you as the professional to mitigate. And it was really upsetting. It was really upsetting for me. I spent a lot of time crying in my car to my husband, to anyone who would listen, because at first I was just mad and angry at the client. And anyone who's in a service-based business can relate to this. Don't like upsetting our clients, right? The people pleaser in me was hurt. And so from there was a real tipping point. And that's when I really started to invest in my business, working on my business, establishing processes and systems so that I would never have that repeat. So yeah, to answer your question, Joke, it was a bumpy road.
Yeah. You know what? Thank you for sharing that and being very candid, because when people see success stories like yours, multi-million dollar in, firm, they see all the glitz and glam and all the things you've done. You've been in L decor, you've been in architectural, but there's always a story behind all of those things. And not a lot of people are forthcoming about the messy road that leads to all of that. So thank you for sharing that. And one thing that came out of that for me is you started out taking just any client that would work with you, and you would do it because that was what was available to you when you started. I did that as well in my business. And I see a lot of people starting out thinking that, oh, I don't know what I'm doing here. Therefore, I have to take this little job or I have to not charge enough. I actually did an Instagram reel recently about charge your what, know your what kind of thing. I think about that and I think you as the expert, somebody has hired you and they're willing to pay you money, which means you're already a step above where they are in terms of the what you offer. This is avoidable. If we know better, we do better. And we can learn from other people's, experience. You don't have to recreate your own experience, so to speak. What would you say to that person that's just starting out and how to set the boundaries and go after kind of client that they really want in their life that will pay them what they are worth?
I think it really first starts with getting clear on your own worth. Because if we don't believe that we are good at what we do, that we are the expert, it's going to be really hard for someone else to see that in us. And I know for me early on, I was very insecure in my design choices. I used to bring a million samples to clients. I would sit on the floor of their living room. I would be like, oh, well, if we use that for the sofa, then that could be the pillows. Oh, but that would also be a really good sofa. So here's another, oh my God, I would walk them through my entire I called it collaborative. I'm doing air quotes right now. My collaborative process, because I wasn't confident in my own design choices. I was afraid to put my opinion forward. And as a result, I was dragging my clients through the process, but that's not what they hired me for. And I'm mortified at early versions of myself because it wasn't until I started to have that confidence that, nope, this is how I do things and this works. The clients then saw that. And as a result, I was able to start charging more money. Back to what you were saying about charging your worth, right? If we don't believe we're worth it, or that what we do is worth it, we're not going to charge more money. I see this with designers a lot because I practice what I preach and I'm raising my prices too. And I'm always telling designers, you're not charging enough. I have a whole course where I teach about pricing, but what I see is designers afraid to raise their rates because they don't think that they're good enough, or they don't actually know what others are charging. Right. And so they feel like that person's really good because they posted all these pictures on Instagram. They must be charging such and such, but maybe they're charging the same. So it's really about understanding and staying in our lane, understanding what is it that we offer and why is it good, and getting super clear on what your core offering is. Right. Like this is something that I teach inside Power of Process, but I believe, and it's controversial, that you should have a single core offering. That doesn't mean you can't then add on services like you've done, Joke, and other stagers have done. But what is that primary revenue generating focus? Like, what is your service? Because it's going to be a lot easier to really build it out, have a robust way of doing things that you feel confident so that when you approach clients, you can say, I'm Rebecca Hay Designs. We offer a full service. We have a 7-step process. This is exactly how we'll execute your project. And you come very confidently when you have a core service. So it's really comes to answer your question. It comes down to valuing. It's not so much about you. It's your service, right? And I think there's an important distinction. I heard someone say that once and it really resonated. It's not about how much are you worth? And I think we get caught up in it being so personal. It's actually how much is that service worth to that client.
Yes. All the things you're saying, I'm nodding my head up and down because it just resonates. Nobody's paying what you're worth because of you. It's because of what it's worth to them, what your service is worth at the end of the day, the value to the client. And also thinking about tapping into experiences and things, making sure you have a core offer. My core offer for the longest time was vacant home staging. And then I decided I wanted to do interior design, but I didn't know the process of it. I have an idea and everyone would think, oh, interior design, home staging, pretty much the same, but a whole world of difference when it comes to the process. So tapping from your experience, I learned in the Power of Process, okay, this is how you do it. And then now I could add that onto what I do, knowing a process and understanding this is how I want to work. When you also said your collab, a lot of different options, people have hired you. to help them narrow it down. And then you now bring all these things and they're even more confused. And I learned that from you as well. Now I go to my client with, you have these two options. It's between this and this. Pick one. So that was so helpful for me because normally I would go and collect all the samples and be like, okay, maybe this one, maybe that one. Like, that's not what they hired me for. So learning that from you has helped me streamline that process. Okay, so there's one thing that you're really, really good with is that work-life balance. You are a mom. I'm a mom as well. And I like the idea that our business is working around our life and not the other way around. You have honed that down. You recently told me that you only work a 10-hour week. How do you do that?
Well, I do that with support, right? So you can't run $1 million business and work 10 days a week and be the only person in your business. I mean, if you know someone who does that, I'd love to interview them. So the way that I find balance, and let's be honest, like there are some weeks where the scale is going to tip more in favor of family. There's some weeks where the scale is going to tip more in favor of work. Like that's just life. It's never 50-50 perfectly balanced. But what I can say is I have built a design firm where I don't need to be involved in every nitty-gritty piece of it. There's two parts to that. The one part is that I have had various people in different roles over the years as I kind of trial and error, and it's always shifting. I used to always think like, what's the magic formula? You know, you're always looking like, well, how does she structure her business and how do they structure theirs? Like I used to get so caught up in that until I realized there is no one size fits all. And even within my own business, it is going to change. But having people in roles that are clearly defined and they have processes to follow makes it easy for me to step back and be the creative director. I'm not the person who's outsourcing. I'm not doing the AutoCAD drawings. I'm not even the one who's sending emails to the clients. I'm now not even the one who goes to site to meet the clients. Right? So that's the one part of it is having people to delegate to, whether it's one person, 5 people or more. And then the other side of that is also just believing that your time is valuable and finding ways to time block your calendar. This is something that took some time. Having a process that I follow, and I sound like a broken record, I know, but it's so true. Because I follow the same 7 steps with every design project, I know where I'm at in every project at any given time. I also allow myself time to do the design. I allow myself time to come up with the budget. I'm not just scrambling, pushing forward, trying to get deliverables as quick as possible. There are times that I block out and I have a timeline for a project that the team knows we have 3 months to do the design. So then I'm able to time block my week so that I can take a day and just work on my business. I can take Fridays off to take my kids to the ski hill or what have you, which is where I'm at right now, right? Because I know that, okay, as long as I can get the things done in the time that I've allotted, if you're just constantly running forward, just trying to get deliverables done, you won't have time because you're not going to make the time because the deadline is so imminent. That's something that I've noticed has helped me have that balance because I do sometimes ask myself, like, how did I get to this place where I'm barely working in my design firm and things are still ticking? And I was just very protective of my time.
Yeah. I started doing the time blocking myself, and I have an amazing team that supports me as well. Like, we know if you want to go far, you can't go alone. My main focus right now is stepping away from the daily running of things. Like I said, my family time is important to me. I have kids. And I want to be able to take time off if I need to. And I've been fortunate to build a team that helps me support that. My warehouse is actually downstairs. I pass by it every morning. I haven't even made it inside the warehouse in days. They know I'm here to support them. So I even miss them. Like, what are they doing without me? I want to know. But they're like, we're fine. We're fine. And so I totally key into that. And what is your approach for hiring the right people that will support your mission, your vision, and fit into your culture? What does that look like for you?
Hiring is definitely one of the biggest challenges I have found in business. And it's interesting, a lot of, millionaires and billionaires will tell you that the hardest part of running any business is people, whether it's customers, managing a team, because it's people, right? These are not inanimate objects. They're people with personalities and ideas and habits. What I've learned from a lot of mistakes that I won't bore you with right now is I don't care what it looks like on paper. It doesn't matter what your skills are on paper. No one is watching this video, but you can see Joki's hands are like, hallelujah, you're preaching.
Yes.
Seriously, though, I've made that mistake where I hired a junior intermediate designer who had worked for a very established firm in Toronto. All the credentials, I thought, wow. But in the interview, I thought, oh, they're a little bit quiet. And, I guess she doesn't really have a lot of experience like managing, but she's coming from this firm. She must be really good in these areas. And you know what? It was the wrong hire. Always felt forced when we were having meetings. It felt uncomfortable. They weren't getting along super well with some of the team members. Then when it moved into the management side, she just didn't have the skills for it. And that was to me a big lesson. I hate to say this because it's not helpful, but a lot of it is gut and personality and core values and understanding what type of person they are.
I'm raising my hand and doing hallelujah because those are all the things I think about. I really don't care what your credentials are. I hire based mostly on character, attitude before I will hire over skills because those skills can be taught, they can be learned. But if a person comes with, they are fully formed human adults, they're all done being grown, and there's nothing anybody can do about that. And that's why I have part of my process, I have people come in for a walk-in interview. Just today, when we're all observing, there was a gentleman that came one time and all the ladies carrying and getting stuff ready for the project. And it was just standing back and looking at them like, no offer of, can I help? Even if you don't know where to jump in, at least offer help. And I was like, this is it for me. This is not my person,
And there's the door. And goodbye.
Yeah. Those little things, they matter. And yes, it's a lot of gut thing too, because people can show up and just act out one day. They act exactly how you want them to, but there's that gut feeling. So yes, people, that is the hardest part. And that is also the most important part, right?
Yeah. But I will also add that something that's newer that I've been doing, and I'm interested if you do something like this, but I learned this from a coach, is having a really strong onboarding process. So what we have adopted is a 30, 60, 90-day system, because I will say, regardless of gut or whatever's on paper or how they show up at the interview, sometimes it's like multiple interviews, Zoom, in person, all the things. You really don't know a person. I'm sorry, I'm going to know if you're going to be perfect in the job. And so it's a 30, 60, 90 days, and being really methodical, which doesn't come naturally to me, to be honest, which is why I like process, because it keeps me accountable. But the process is that after 30, there's certain deliverables by 30 days where they need to learn. You cannot expect a new hire to learn everything in the first 10 days. And what would happen for me is I'd get so frustrated. I'm like, well, how come they don't know to do this? And this isn't right. And they're not doing a good job there. It really is about coaching them, regardless of where they're coming from, regardless of their age or their skill level. You still need to have that system so that after the 30 days, you sit down with them and you look at how is it going? Did they achieve the things you wanted them to? 60 days, and then at 90 days. And then you can decide, is this person the right fit? And if not, you've got all the paperwork to tie in with what your instinct is telling you, and then you can make a decision. And there's no harm in letting someone go after they've started working with you if it's not the right fit.
Absolutely, absolutely. I made all of these mistakes at the beginning as well. When you're this solopreneur, we have a lot of time on our hands when we're starting new and we're doing all the things. And the mistake that I made that I learned from is I hired a virtual assistant and I overloaded her with all the things that I was doing that I thought, she's a superstar and she can do it all. But the thing to keep in mind is she's not the owner of the business. She's not as invested as you are, as amazing as they are, as helpful as they are. We think that if I can do it, they should be able to do it. But I have learned to just scale it back and take things by chunks. The first month, you're going to be doing this. You're not even going to touch the phone until after this. You're not going to do this. And doing it little by little with the master one thing, and then we move on to the other because it was a terrible, terrible idea of what I did, just overloading like, you can do this.
That's common. Yeah. We all do that, right? Because we're desperate for help. We don't have a lot of money in the beginning. We want them to do as much as possible.
Yeah. We underestimate what we do. You feel like because you can do it, somebody else can do it. Yes, they can, but should they?
I love that. So true.
So now let's talk about, you have a podcast. First of all, lady, you should have warned me how hard it is to start a podcast, because once I got started, I was like, holy moly, what did I get myself into? You sure make it look easy, lady.
It's not easy. It's not that it's hard. It's that it's very time consuming.
Yeah. And a lot of things you just don't know until you get into it. Like, okay, so I have to have somebody to do that, edit and produce and this, and I need a portal to host it, and then all of this and all of that. I was either going to do it or not. Well, I'm doing it.
I love that you're doing it. I'm so excited for you. I will say that it does get easier once you get into the rhythm. I think you're there now, where you get into the rhythm and you just got to lean into that time blocking too, right? To make sure that you can like fit it in. And there's some days where I'm supposed to record podcasts, but I got other deadlines. So I do push it off and things are moving around. A guest cancels for whatever reason, or a recording gets lost. Like that happens.
OMG. Do we want to talk about that? So this is not our first rodeo. Rebecca and I actually sat down like 2 months ago. We recorded this thing, and lo and behold, the recording was like never recorded. And it was my rookie mistake. And she's been so gracious. She was like, oh, don't worry about it. And she just scheduled another one. Here we are. So thank you for being so gracious.
You know what, though? It just goes to show you can't predict everything. You can't control everything. Stuff's going to happen. Things are going to go wrong. It's all about how we handle that and move forward. Yeah.
So big names like Elle Decor, Architectural Digest, Better Homes and Gardens, they've been singing your praise. First of all, how did you get into the publicity of things? Because I think people see that and they wonder, oh, how is Rebecca doing that? How do you get yourself to appear in those featured magazines? And I've heard, I think from you as well, and from another friend who was in HGTV, they're like, it doesn't bring you a lot of money. First of all, how do you get into it? And what leverage does it give you in your business?
So this is a great question because I know designers love press. We love glossy pages of magazines. Everybody wants a feature. It's just part of being a designer. And to answer your question, the very first feature I ever got ended up being on the cover. I got organic. Somebody found me on Instagram. They said, you should email this person. I think that this magazine was a Style at Home Canadian publication, would love to feature you. And that was luck. That happens. After that, though, I was like, I like this. I want to get featured more. And I did not have the time wearing all the hats to be searching out magazine editors, pitching them, doing the whole thing. You could do it that way. It takes a little time. I hired someone. I hired a publicist. I had her for 3 years and she was on retainer. It was a very expensive investment and it was worth it because I got all these features, which gave me street cred. Then I went on to hire another publicist for a little while. I'm not working with anyone at the moment. What I can tell you about publicity, first of all, it just fuels the ego. I'm going to be honest with you. The biggest thing is that you feel really good because you see your work on glossy pages of magazines. What it does is it gives you confidence because you see that other outlets are recognizing your work. So it's like, for some reason, when we have that validation, it makes us feel like we're better at what we do. So it's worth it for that. And then also I'll say the flip side, it doesn't immediately translate to clients, which is I'm sure what your friend was telling you. I think I had, I don't know, over the 7 years of working with various publicists, I probably had maybe 7 emails, maybe 1 phone call from people who are interested. And most of those people just wanted to know what the paint color was on the piece of furniture or where I purchased that lamp, because I guess that wasn't included. Literally, most of the people that are reading those magazines are not the ones who are looking for designers. However, though it didn't translate to direct business, except for I think I got one bathroom project because someone had saved a magazine and saved their money and they hired me for their bathroom. But other than that, what I will say is it gives you street cred. It elevated my firm within my city very quickly. Immediately, other vendors in my city, suppliers, other designers in my city saw me as a true expert in my field. My other magazines saw me. So once you get one, you can get more. And that has really helped me to have those logos on my website. It gives me street cred. I didn't get clients directly from any of those publications except for that one bathroom client. But what it did do is show potential clients that, oh, this is social proof. Other people think she's good, so I think she's good, because sometimes you need that. So I would say that was where it was helpful.
Awesome. So for designers who are dreaming of, maybe they're already in the business or they're about to start and they're looking for a way to streamline, what is the one piece of advice you'll give them? I know it's all in the process because I am a process person, but apart from the process, what kind of advice would you give to someone who feels, for example, overwhelmed or stuck in the grind?
Oh man, I mean, that's a big question. If you are feeling overwhelmed, you've probably taken on too much work and you don't have the support to help you get it done. You probably also don't have a lot of boundaries with your clients. The first step would be consider hiring. Honestly, get some help. Even if it's an assistant designer or an assistant administrator, or maybe it's someone who does your CAD plans or whatever it is, get some help, because if you have someone that you can offload those itty bitty tasks to, then you're going to feel a lot lighter. But then apart from that, I think you need to get really clear on your vision. And this might sound counterintuitive, but slow down, pause, consider, where are you taking this business? Where do you see it in 5 to 10 years? What type of company do you want? Because if you don't look up to look forward, you're going to stay looking down at the ground on that treadmill, spinning and spinning your wheels. If you don't stop to pause and say, where do I want to go? You're definitely not going to get there. And so that would be my advice. When I finally decided I was ready to look up and invest in my business by working on it through taking an online course, hiring a business coach, going to High Point Market, like all of those things that I did that were investments in me and my business, it wasn't until I started to do that things started to fall into place. I think if you're feeling overwhelmed, you need to pause and think about, why are you doing this? Why did you get into it in the first place? What is your vision? Do you want to just have 2 to 3 really large projects a year that are awesome with one design assistant? Do you want to have 20 projects and a team of 10? Like, what do you want? There's no right or wrong answer, but remember why you're doing it too. Because sometimes I see designers, especially like inside our community, who are just so run down, they're so tired, and they're wondering if they even want to do this for a living anymore. And it's not that they've fallen out of love with design. They've just been beaten down by business, by serving clients, by not having the boundaries, by not really having a set process that they follow. They're just serving clients at all costs. And that is a recipe for burnout. So get help and then take the time you need to look at where you want to go.
I could talk all day and not stop talking to you, because each time I think, oh, this is my last question, you say something and I'm like, okay, I have to have a follow-up question. Very often, a lot of creatives don't bring the business acumen. And that, I think, is where the stress really, really comes from. I know how to make things pretty. I know how to set up a room. But how do I turn that into money and profit and not be stressed? And I hear all the time about people thinking that hiring is very expensive. But I used to think that, so I was very scared to do my first hire because I thought payroll taxes all the day, and then I have to manage the person. But once you find, first of all, have that process that you have documented that you can pass on to somebody to train them, and it will take so much of you that you now have your head suddenly clear of other things that you can do to work on your business and less in it to grow it, and therefore pays completely for that person you've hired and more. Because if you've hired the right person, you have given them the right tools, it will translate into money for you. Like I said, I could talk on and on with you, but one last fun question. If there was any design item, principle, or style, what is the one thing that you wish would never come back?
Oh my gosh. Gosh. I mean, I'd say an accent wall. I just feel like let's go all in. Like it's all or nothing. You want to paint an emerald green wall? Well, frick, let's do the room, right? Like lean into it. You think one wall's impactful? Imagine if all of them were the same. Right? Like I think that's something I don't need to see that come back. Like, oh, we're gonna just have a little bit of fun. But what if you had a lot of fun?
I love it. Wonderful. Well, Rebecca, it's been delightful as always to just hang out with you, but I'm looking forward to seeing you soon.
Absolutely. Well, I'm always going to High Point Market. So you let me know if you want to go to High Point. I try to organize events and things there. So you let me know. It'd be fun to meet up there. Thank you for having me. This has been so wonderful. The reboot, a whole new conversation. I got to talk to you twice. So I think we're winning.
Yes, we are. So you have a boot camp for designers on February 19th.
Yes. So for the first time, I'm doing a 2-week boot camp and I'm going to walk designers through live training. There's going to be a pop-up Facebook group where we're going to all be in community together. And I'm going to walk designers through the steps that they can take to update their business so that they are escaping those budget clients, the ones I talked about at the beginning, and attracting those dream clients who really value their worth.
You know, I'm signing up, right?
I hope you do. I can't wait to see you there. And if you want to get into the boot camp, just go to RebeccaHay.com/bootcamp. Super easy.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Awesome. Thanks, lady.
Thank you. You've been listening to the Creative Business Mindset podcast. Remember to share, like, and subscribe. Thank you for listening and keep doing all the things. Until next time.